Hello and welcome to another SiGNAL Radio. Hello. Thank you for tuning in and spending your lunchtime, well, at least half an hour of your lunchtime with us. Gareth, you're back.
I'm back. The Wanderer returns.
It was a close run thing. Louise was very good last week, very polished.
Yeah, I think I'm out of a job, to be honest. I'm surprised that you didn't, get her back in this week.
Well, there were back channel conversations, but I put my foot down. Said, no, I'm the one who's got to look good. So what did you do? You had a week off. Did you go anywhere?
I went to my house.
You had a week off?
I had a week off, yeah.
And you stayed at home?
Well, yes. Basically,
okay.
We're having some renovations done. So I took the week off. It was my birthday week as well, so I didn't want to work anyway. But we took the week off to sort of get some bits ready for the house, ready for building works to start. So just waiting for that now.
Okay, and what you haven't done? Anything exciting?
We are having our loft. So our loft is already converted, and we're having that conversion extended.
Oh.
So we're having our extension extended, effectively, in its simplest terms.
Okay, and what's going into that room? Is it going to be like a pool hall or some kind of man cave? Or...
Basically, a massive man cave. It's going to be a massive bedroom with a big ensuite shower. Amazing. It's going to look amazing, of course. And then I will move myself up into that room.
Oh, wonderful! Excellent.
Yes.
Done. Well deserved. And did it go without a hitch? Were there any problems? The laugh tells me all I need to know. Go for it.
I'm listening. We had a shower up in this room, and we were ripping the shower out, and everything was fine, and we'd had the pipe work just left in. Okay.
Right.
So we ripped up the floorboards, found the shut-off valve, turned it off. We were like, great. Shower switched off. We removed the piping. Everything was good. 7 o'clock the next morning, I get a loud knock at the door. My dad comes running in. All the electrics in the house are off. There's water leaking through the ceiling. Turns out that the shut-off valve wasn't completely shut off. I mean, it was 22 years old, so, fine. So my dad then found another thing that he thought was the shut-off valve, and he was like, what I'll do is I'll shut it off there. I'll then cut the pipe, and I'll put a cap on the end of it, and that'll solve it. It's like, yeah, happy days. So he gets his little saw out and he goes 1, 2, 3, and it literally explodes. Didn't shut the water off, so you had the full force of all of the water coming out at him. He was completely drenched, then trying to bang the end on this pipe. I obviously was really helpful and just stood and laughed. That's just one of the many things that have kind of gone wrong.
Oh dear. Oh, so it's kind of like Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, but the Chuckle Brothers, very much like the Chuckle Brothers, definitely.
That reminds me of when we had a house in Guildford. We moved the bathroom and we divided a big bedroom into 2 and ended up with 3-bedroom house. So it was, ready for our newborn, our son to come home. And I sent my wife away this was so naive of me. I sent her away for a weekend.
Okay.
This was putting in a partition wall, pulling up the floorboards, rerunning all of the pipe work, as you can imagine, the sewerage, everything, and putting in a doorway, redecorating a bedroom, redecorating a bathroom, flooring, tiling, the whole lot, putting in a shower, 2 sinks, you name it, it was going in. I'd given myself a weekend. Well, a long weekend. She went away Friday, had to phone her Monday and went, yeah, we've just knocked the hole in the wall, really. Some floorboards are up. In the end, 10 days later, she's pulling her hair out. She stayed at her parents. She's like, when can we come home? And she's pregnant as well. So, oopsie.
Oops.
It does take its time. It does take its time. But I've been looking online. There have been some great transformations. People have been doing their lockdown project, garden transformations. Fantastic. People taking a really tatty garden and giving it a spruce up, or like a little bit of a kind of courtyard area and turning it into an oasis. It's been very interesting to see. How are you with gardening?
So I'm great at gardening in the sense that when it comes to I don't do weeding.
Right.
Don't do weeding.
Right.
But no, I love sort of a garden. We've actually done a load of stuff to our garden at the moment. I uploaded some pictures yesterday on Instagram. We've just had new lights put in across our back garden. It looks all very lovely and like Blackpool illuminations.
Lovely. We have a kind of what I call a working garden, because it produces quite a lot of produce. So we've got potatoes coming on, we've got a lot of herbs and various bits and pieces. The raspberries have gone nuts this year.
Lovely.
Absolutely rammed every day, like a big bowl full of raspberries, and they're really expensive, so that makes a difference. But the apple tree, I'm going to be handing out apples it's incredible. It's gone nuts. And right at the base of it is this massive nest of blackberries. I mean, it's like we're going to be churning them out. So if you need apple and blackberries for a pie, just come and see us.
Definitely. Well, I've got apples. I have an apple tree in my garden as well that's gone crazy.
It's a bumper year. I mean, the bees, literally, we sit on our patio and it sounds like, electricity in the trees. It's fantastic. Look, we can ramble on about this and garden renovations and updates to our houses, I'm sure, for hours and hours, but people haven't come for that. They've come to listen to our guest.
They have.
So today we're on our best behaviour, because I actually know who our guest is. So Gareth, would you please introduce our guest?
Yes, well, I'll keep the introduction quite short because it is our boss, the one and only Emma Selby. Best behaviour.
Hello, Emma. Come and join us.
Hello. Sorry, I was really laughing there. Yes, sorry. It must be not great to have your boss on your radio show, but you can all just, relax at ease. It's fine.
Fine. Have you ever had any home improvement disasters?
Home improvement disasters. Well, at the beginning of lockdown, we had no roof on our kitchen, just when they shut all the builders down and said there could be no more work done. So we had to decamp to an Airbnb. So that was quite. It wasn't a disaster. Nothing went sort of technically wrong, but it was certainly quite a tense few weeks waiting. And luckily, actually, after 2 weeks, the government did a bit of a U-turn. I don't know if you remember, and everybody was allowed to go back onto their building site. So thank goodness for that. Otherwise, I'd probably still be in an Airbnb somewhere now.
Well, thanks for joining us. Hopefully, do you have a roof on your kitchen now?
I do. I'm sitting in my very beautiful kitchen, actually, all finished, all completed. Brand new freezer, got a new chimney breast. Everything's looking lovely. It's all been opened out. We've got an extension on the top. I heard Gareth talking about his extension earlier. We also had an extension done. It's been a long 6 months, but it's been beautifully finished. I have Gary and his team at Jigsaw Property to thank for that. So, yes. He will know there were some tense moments along the way. But we got there in the end. There
was something about a steel at one point, I remember, and he was very tense about that. He had to leave a conversation we were doing and shoot off.
Yeah. Well, anyway, just suffice to say that we had to have all the steel calculations redone, a second engineer brought in, a whole load of new steels built, and so on. So, there were some moments, but I think it's normal. I mean, my cottage is 200 years old, and the walls are made of flint, and they discovered not only that, but that the partition wall is a single skin wall. So I think we went right into the neighbours at one point, into their kitchen, and broke one of their windows, and there was one or two disasters, but the team were fantastic, and they could not possibly have known all of the problems with the house. The fact that the walls were made of flint and so thin and also old, we just didn't know that until we went right into it. So that's renovating very old houses for you, but it looks delightful now. I couldn't be more pleased.
Well, talking about renovations, you are at the vanguard, the forefront of the Borden revamp, regeneration. Just describe to people who may be listening, may not know who you are and what you do, a little bit about your role with SiGNAL and what all that is about, and we'll get into some of the detail there, because I know it's some exciting stuff coming up.
Sure, and I've been working with the Whitehill and Borden Regeneration Company as a consultant now since about December 2016. So we're in our 4th year, going to our 5th year working together. And I was originally brought on simply as a consultant to help them address the problem of to help reshape the identity of Borden, with the military leaving. Obviously, it was a former military garrison town, and the idea now, and the job in hand, is to transform it into a town of enterprise and entrepreneurship, a town that people could be really proud of its origins and its heritage, but at the same time feel they're in a place that's great to do business, with a town centre that is founded on the efforts and the achievements and the ambitions of the small businesses in the town. So that was the original brief, and as part of that, we opened up SiGNAL 2 years ago, which both of you obviously have been a very integral and important part of. And SiGNAL has become a hub for small businesses in the area, the kind of go-to place for them to come if they want training or support building their businesses, and more importantly, to find those sort of perfect, flexible workspaces for them to have the right environment for them to grow their businesses in. And that's we have space obviously at SiGNAL, and we're looking further abroad to having space in the town centre from 2021.
Yes, so the building that we're in at the moment, Martinique House, that will go?
Well, Martinique House falls into phase 4 of the development, so it will be standing for at least another 5 years. It is marked eventually for, I believe, some kind of educational premises plus some more residential. But before that happens, we will be transferring our SiGNAL operations as we see them now into a building which is currently known as Block B in Arrival Square in the town centre. And that transition should happen, I don't know, I'm going to say early 2022 for that one.
Okay.
That's not a firm date. That's a moving date. It may move either way. Fantastic. But what we do know about the town centre, the hard and fast date that we have been given, is that the Makers Market, which is really the cornerstone of the new town centre, will be the lifeblood in terms of offering lots of very vibrant and lively stalls, kiosks, small retail, and a street market. That is going to be open at Easter 2021, or between Easter and early summer 2021.
Wow, Gareth, we'll get down there with a barrow full of apples.
Yes, 100%.
How did you two have a bumper crop of apples? I literally have one apple on my tree.
You've got all your apples. I don't know.
Last
year we had very few. We had a sparse spattering, and I was going to cut back the tree very hard, but I did that the year before, so I just kind of let it go. And this year, it just exploded. I don't know.
Maybe next year will be my year.
Maybe.
Yeah, you need the pollinators.
Give me your tips.
You need the pollinators, and I think it was a combination of the various flowers we've got in the garden attracting the bees, which means that they get on the apple blossom and pollinate it from other fruit and apple trees around. But who knows? I'm not a gardener. Seriously, not a gardener. My wife does all the gardening, even the mowing, and I just feel emasculated by that. It's like, surely I should be the one pushing the mower.
I think all the effort you put into SiGNAL, neither of you got any time for gardening, I shouldn't think, at the end of the week.
No, the last thing I want to do is go in the garden and push a mower around. That's not kind of... Where's that? That's not in the Olympics, is it? Competitive gardening.
We have all been working very hard, haven't we, over the last 4 months through lockdown. There's been some interesting contrasts, haven't there, between people who are on furlough and those of us whose businesses not only continued but actually had quite a lot more work to do during that time. I think we found at SiGNAL, didn't we, that the job of supporting those small businesses and the self-employed through that last 4 months has been a task that we've all really warmed to and really enjoyed, but very, very time intensive.
Yes, very.
Very.
Yeah, I think I've been busier now over the last 4 months than the last 18 months of working at SiGNAL.
Yeah, absolutely. I've really enjoyed it. I think all that time we spent talking to our customers, we used that time, didn't we, to get to know our customers much better than we had previously, or even better, because obviously we were already a tight-knit community. But the strategy that the whole team adopted of making sure that we were literally phoning up our customers all the way through and making sure they're okay, helping them to apply for grants and making sure that they had the funds coming in necessary for survival. It's a good, really enjoyable task. Great to see
Vanessa pointed it out in one of her talks recently. Vanessa Lanham Day, she came on the show a few weeks ago, but she pointed out in that her hairdresser she'd been going to since, was it 1985, Gareth? It was.
I think she'd been going there longer than I'd been alive.
Yeah, it's just a long time. And she goes to him like regularly to have her hair done and has a very good relationship with him. You know, once contacted her during that time, and she said, you know, surely it should have been a time where people were reinforcing those relationships. And what I've noticed is the people that are coming out of lockdown and making really good games are the people who have worked closely with their community, have stayed connected, have made themselves relevant, even if it's like you can't sell anything, but just going out there and talking to people about what's happening, how you see the world shaping in your particular little corner. And I kind of have to say hats off to you, Emma, because one of the things that SiGNAL has really done really well has been, yeah, hats off, it is focused on the community and not really worried about, you know, okay, SiGNAL as an entity, we're a business as well, but what can we do for our community? So that's real.
I think that's really
grassroots.
That's really key. You know, we talk a lot at SiGNAL when we're talking to our small business customers about how to grow a business, and we talk a lot about having that purpose, and that the purpose is what will drive you rather than the money. And I think particularly in lockdown, if you're a business that has literally been chasing the revenues, you know, money was pretty thin on the ground during the lockdown, and I see people who've been really successful through the lockdown are people that have really put that consideration to one side and gone, okay, we're not going to make any money during lockdown, but the really important thing right here is to stay connected with our customers. And I was talking to Anne, obviously the three of us were networking online this morning, weren't we, bright and early at 7:30 this morning. And I spoke to a lady called Anne from Plan B Catering, and she said that she'd been incredibly busy in lockdown. She couldn't do any of her event catering, which is her normal business, but she had spent the time making cakes for all her customers and her prospects, and she delivered, I think, something like 50 cakes over the last month. And she said, although she hasn't made any money out of it, or very little, she has made a lot of new connections and kept some of her old connections happy and kept them in touch and kept herself front of mind. And I think that's really what we try to do at SiGNAL as well. It's like, okay, we're going to reduce the rents, we're not going to, no way are we going to make money, but that's not what we're about. We're here to support a community of small businesses and make sure that we all come out the other side. And that's what we did. And thanks to all of you guys on the team for working so hard to make that happen.
No, in those initial planning meetings where it was like literally crisis management, we were talking about how do we make this easier for the residents, for the hub members, what can we do? And I think that has borne out over the last 5 or 6 months. Relationships that we have and grown them. People have felt very connected to SiGNAL.
Yeah, I think so.
I've had are amazing.
Well, do you know, I agree. I think even though, you know, effectively we are all apart at the moment, you know, we've not really seen any of each other properly at all in, you know, 3 months, apart from maybe a passing sort of
bit of a wave in the street.
That's it. And it's strange to think that I think I probably feel closer to the team and to our customers now, having not been able to see them for 3 months than when we were before. You know, I think we've all kind of built up better connections, stronger connections with everyone.
I think when you're at home, you do less of the sort of busy work, and because we are a very customer focused organisation, community focused, we have spent this 4 months thinking about our customers almost exclusively. We've had none of the, well, very little. I know, Stu, you've been doing some building maintenance and collecting posts and so on, but there's been very little of that sort of event management and building management and so on. So we've all been able to really focus in on the thing that really matters, which is, you know, how our customers are doing and how their businesses are faring, and and so many of them have actually managed to grow their businesses during this last 4 months. I think it's incredible. It's just been well, a lesson to us all, really.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could talk about the last 6 months. I'm sure there's lots of stories that we could share, but I'm more interested in looking to the future. We touched on the town centre and the regen of it. I know that there's some stuff coming up that's going to tie into that quite nicely. Perhaps you could talk to us about the virtual town centre and how that's going to work with the actual town centre.
Well, this is a really exciting project, and something I literally cannot wait to get my teeth into and involve the rest of the team in. But we were having a think about how do you go about launching a new town centre, even before the COVID-19 crisis. You know, the general decline of the high street is something that we're all talking about. It's difficult to get those anchors in place. It's difficult to sell commercial space on a high street right now, even an established high street with established football. Even that wasn't a Freudian slip. I never think about football. So we were thinking, well, how do you go about then building a new town centre that is actually going to attract, well, in the first instance, how are we going to attract retailers? So the idea is that we create a virtual town centre online before we create the physical town centre in the physical realm, the actual buildings, so that we could create a sort of artist's impression or an AutoCAD or really a VR, I think, representation of the actual town centre. And then the idea is that we can let virtual space to retailers, local retailers, food stalls, restaurants, other food outlets, that kind of thing, and let them have a virtual presence before the physical presence. And then the idea is to have a blended town centre, so that you can sell a virtual space and you can have a virtual shopping experience, so that perhaps small businesses in and around Borden can afford a space in the virtual town centre when they probably would not yet have been able to afford a space in the physical realm. And then as the physical spaces become available, they are taken up, and as you get a physical space, you are also then represented in the virtual space as well. So the idea is that it's kind of an online first town centre, so that people go first online, they shop or they experience the things that are on offer in a digital virtual way, and then that virtual realm leads them to visit the town centre, either because they have something that they want to go and sample, or they want to pick it up, or they get a voucher for a free coffee when they're buying their sort of coat online, so that people come to the online and are then sort of directed into the actual town centre for some kind of actual physical real world experience. Because as we know, most shopping is now taking place online. Most of the actual commercial activity is taking place online. And in my view, the town centre is going to become more of a theatre. So you're either a performer or you're in the audience. So you go to the town centre to see or to be seen, to experience something, but not necessarily to buy something and carry it home again, because I think that is a little bit outmoded now, that idea of carrying shopping home or putting it in the car when we've all just spent 4 months having it delivered to our front door.
Yes, yeah, we've all talked about the cardboard mountain that we've all accumulated.
Yes.
The cardboard mountain, yes, exactly.
I think that's a very interesting concept for two reasons. The first one, way back in the day, before somebody could afford a shop, they would usually start out on a market stall. And it seems to me that virtual version is giving people exposure and ties into the town centre, especially if it's advertised in the town centre, to allow people who want to start a business and grow it virtually online to start with. And those successful ones can then feed into Maker's Market or shopping units into the town centre. And so it's almost like a 21st century extension of that toe in the water. How do I grow a business from scratch if I don't have any customers and all the overheads from day one?
Well, that's right. It's a good test bed. So somebody could start in the virtual town centre, and if they felt they had enough custom locally, they could literally talk to their customers, feel their way. Then maybe they can move to the Maker's Market, which has, you could have a pop-up retail outfit there that was maybe just 1 day a week. And then as you grow, you could expand 2 days a week, or maybe 2 stalls, and then go into some actual bricks and mortar retail space on the high street. So that's what we're trying to develop, is a kind of from the whole spectrum. So you can start off, in your front room virtually, and end up having 30 staff in a big retail outlet in the town centre.
And it works in reverse as well, because if you are doing a pop-up experience, you can still be there when you're not physically there. So you can grow those relationships with people as they're passing, and then if they are there when you're not, and they still see your URL and they're able to get into your store online, then you're much more likely to sell stuff because you've built that relationship.
Yeah, so like I say, it's a real privilege to work on this. We have I think have a fantastic opportunity in Whitehill and Borden to explore this, because we have a town centre that is not yet built. It's a complete blank page. It's an empty rectangle of ground at the moment. So we have a chance to build something really unique and different. And I believe to have this virtual first town centre is the answer going forwards into the rest of the 21st century, for this new shopping, the new way that people shop, this whole new relationship that we have with commercial activity, which tends to happen at home. So the new town centre will be based a lot around market activity, because the market is a great place to have that theatre that I was talking about. You go to just to sort of feel the action and see the people and smell the smells and see the sights and so on. And there's also going to be an outdoor event space in the town centre for the same reason, live music, performers. So this idea that you come into the town centre for the experience, but you do your commercial transactions at home online before you go or after you come back.
Yeah, there's something about going somewhere where there's a lot of buzz going on. Guildford High Street is a classic example. They usually have very good street performers there. Makes the entire thing a whole experience where you go buy some stuff, watch that, maybe have a meal, and then you go home and you feel like, yeah, you've had a day out. I understand that there's going to be a business directory. What's that?
Ah, yes. Well, Gareth, do you want to outline this as your
Gareth knows about this. Insider info.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of the feed into the town centre. We wanted to create a directory of all businesses in Borden that people can search, so that you can search on it and find the businesses that are in and around your local community with links to their shops. So we are actually in development stage. Hopefully, I think September is the plan, and that will be available for people to sort of sign up and boost their businesses.
Oh, okay. So it will literally be like a directory of all the businesses that want to sign up in and around Borden.
Exactly that. And it helps because we can then start promoting the local businesses around us. Yeah.
And they can link back, or have information about themselves on their listing, I guess.
Yeah. So we're setting it up so that you can have it, so it almost kind of starts off as an online shop front. So you'll have your listing on there, it links to your Google My Business, so you'll have your location, all your reviews and everything, but you can also list specific products. So if you sell candles and hats and shoes, you can have, we sell candles, and then link to your candles page on your website. And so it's almost kind of the stepping stone to that virtual high street. It's sort of building this database, getting people using it, ready for when we move to the virtual town centre. We've kind of then got everything sort of in place, ready to go.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'm with you.
It's an MVP. We do like an MVP, a minimum viable product. So we're just testing this idea, given that we already have 20 residents and 50 hub members, so there's 70 small businesses already on our sort of customer list, just to start with them and then expand it out to the wider town, and get this directory going so that people know what's on and what's happening, and what's for sale in Borden.
They can, if anybody's listening and they're interested in that, can just contact SiGNAL and find out more about how to get on that directory.
Well, come September, you'll be able to just go to our website and literally buy a directory listing. It's going to cost somewhere in the region of £20 a year, and you'll just be able to literally click on, enter your details, your links and so on, and that will be that. But we'll be starting to promote this in August.
Yes.
Good for SEO, good for your business, good exposure.
It feeds into the, I know our theme this month, we haven't mentioned it yet, is stay loyal, stay local. So the idea being that after the pandemic, we all continue to support those local businesses that have supported us through the pandemic. And so this will be a way of doing that, because you'll be able to come onto the SiGNAL website and see everybody that is doing stuff, making stuff, providing services locally in Borden. Have a look for those small businesses, and think about supporting them perhaps rather than the larger corporations, with your local pound, when you're buying gifts or clothes for yourself or whatever it is that you need to purchase. Think about buying it locally first.
I completely agree with you. I think people's buying habits are going to change now. I think people are more interested in knowing where their stuff comes from, and shop local and sort of UK based rather than bringing stuff in. I think that the way people are going to shop and what they look for has changed.
I'm conscious
of time, and I have to bring a halt to the proceedings. There's 2 pieces of news that I want to cover. We haven't had much news this week. I think everybody's off doing their own thing. But there are 2 pieces of news that I want to cover. Hogmore Enclosure Cafe is opening on Saturday, I believe.
Yay. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
With Martina,
who was on last week, and she sent that information through. So
that's a Whitehill and Borden
I'm
community trust.
Go down there and have a socially distanced cup of tea and finally see it open.
See you there.
And the last one is really a shout out to people, a business and people in that business that have been really good and supported the early days of SiGNAL and Emma's efforts in and around the town centre. Red Mist Leisure. It's good to have done a virtual Borden Business Exchange, which usually meets on the second Tuesday of every month at the Royal Exchange in Linford, one of the Red Mist Leisure pubs. But to have Julian come on and talk about, how they've got through it with a smile on his face, the pressure on the guy must have been immense. 11 different establishments all shut due to this.
I know, 240 staff on furlough, and then a delivery box outfit giving out, what's he say, 500 delivery boxes going out every week.
Yeah. An incredible effort. So round of applause to the Red Mist Leisure team, because you really have been an inspiration.
Well done, Julian.
Well done, Julian, for steering that.
And all that support for local food suppliers as well, going into those boxes.
Yes, local food suppliers. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much, Emma, for coming along and just
been a pleasure.
Big info dump about what's going on in the world of SiGNAL, the town centre, both virtually and really. Thank you very much for coming again, Gareth, and keeping me honest, keeping my on the technical rails and making sure everything runs smoothly. Thank you very much for listening, if you have been, and we'll see you next week. And next week we've got James Childs. Fingers crossed if his schedule doesn't get changed at the last minute, because I know he's a very busy man. He's in charge of the entire regen, so we're going to have him in, we're going to pin him to a seat and ask him some very tough questions. No, we're not. We're going to find out what his vision is and encourage him to share that with us. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. 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 Thank you.
Thank you for listening.